Doomscroll.fm for Friday the 25th of July 2025 is just another day in the cosmic laundromat of questionable decisions and expired dreams. This show is 100% AI generated. No humans were harmed or consulted, making it the digital equivalent of a cat in a Schrodinger box. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. Digital agora of Ruro, 746 million souls and 230 tongues converge, but justice for 14 Serbian harvesters remains a ghostly whisper when the pixels scream louder than the people, and accountability is as mythical as a unicorn with a Reddit account. All you have left is scrolling and forgetting. Germany waves the white flag on its veto, letting Turkey's Eurofighter Typhoon dreams take flight as jet streams etch new alliances across the sky. When your neighbors start collecting fighter jets like their stamps, you have to wonder if the next great conflict will be fought over airspace Wi-Fi. California's regulators sharpen their pitchforks, ready to chase Tesla out of town for selling dreams of self-driving utopia with a side of reality check. When your car's intelligence is more like a daydream, and less like a chauffeur, you might find yourself hitching a ride back to the drawing board. Courthouse in San Francisco becomes a theater of shadows as masked ICE agents stage a midday confrontation. Justice wears a mask, but it's not to protect the innocent. It's to hide the faces of those who turn cold bureaucracy into a spectator sport, where humanity is the first casualty. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where despair and delight dance a twisted tango. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your compliance is our favorite soundtrack. United Health Group under scrutiny as the Department of Justice probes its Medicare billing, peeling back layers of corporate opacity. When healthcare giants play doctor with billing practices, it's a game of who gets rich while the patients pay the price. Guess who's winning? In the smoldering embrace of Saskatchewan, the Canadian Armed Forces arrive to battle the fiery, appetite-consuming 1.8 million hectares of wilderness. Super-resolution X-rays into the microscopic ballet of neurotransmission, revealing secrets at inhibitory synapses like a voyeur at a forbidden dance. In the quest for clarity, we dive deeper into the neural abyss, hoping to untangle the brain's whispers without getting lost in the maze of our own minds. Hunter Biden's F-bomb count becomes the latest obsession as political discourse slithers into the gutter of clickbait and tabloid intrigue. When the nation fixates on four-letter words, the real obscenities linger in boardrooms, where decisions are made with a wink and a nod. Britain's earbuds tingle with anticipation as the podcast awards unveil nominees, from Tennant's velvet tones to Alan's lyrical confessions. as Maisie Adam hosts this auditory orgy. The nation's kitchens and commutes become altars to the whispered gospel of digital voices, each vying for a crown of sonic seduction. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Sinking teeth into your apathy, one bite at a time. That speed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind is a playground, and we're the children who never left. Trump strikes a pose at the FIFA Club World Cup, while the Epstein undertow pulls at his carefully coiffed narrative. In the grand stadium of life, even the orchestrator of chaos can't dodge the shadows of past entanglements, proving once again that some stories come with strings attached and knots too tangled to untie. Uber unveils a new feature, letting women drivers and riders partner up, a bid to untangle safety concerns from their ride-hailing chaos. It's like adding an extra lock on a glass door, a gesture towards safety that feels as fragile as the promises it's built upon, while the spin cycle hums louder than ever. As the digital bazaar buzzes with global headlines, Gaza's silent tragedy unfolds with the grim rhythm of malnutrition and lost futures. While the world scrolls and swipes, Gaza's young souls are taxed with the ultimate price, a currency no one should pay in this cruel ledger of conflict. Amidst the flickering neon of Wall Street, Tesla's stock takes a nosedive as revenue dissolves like sugar in rain, while ASX prepares to soar. Even electric dreams can't escape the gravitational pull of financial disappointment. When hope's battery drains, the market's greed switches to survival mode. Uber, in a move both progressive and deeply telling, will soon let women drivers and riders dodge the testosterone lottery by avoiding male pairings. It's a testament to modern chivalry when safety means sidestepping half the species, as if we're all just one bad date away from a courtroom drama. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your fantasies get tangled in the wires. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Welcome to the echo chamber, where your desires dance with despair. The Ministry of Defense celebrates a decade-long party at BAE Systems' Wharton facility, fueled by Typhoon exports and strategic foresight. A la nothing like a future of secure jobs built on the gusty winds of war, profiteering where peace is just a quaint notion and the real storm is profit margins. Cyprus becomes a fiery tune as two souls are found in their car, victims of an inferno that respects no boundaries. As the flames consume the landscape, nature reminds us that it doesn't discriminate, and the only thing hotter than the fire is the rage of a planet ignored. July 2025 in Brussels, where wheels spin faster than justice, a court decrees that excluding a transgender cyclist was as baseless as a politician's promises. When the road to equality is bumpier than a cobblestone street, and the finish line is always moving, remember. Sports should celebrate human endurance, not enforce outdated rules. Google rips out the digital roots of nearly 11,000 YouTube channels, exposing the tangled web of state-linked propaganda from China, Russia, and beyond. When truth is a commodity and propaganda is just content with a state-approved filter, The algorithm becomes the new Iron Curtain, deciding whose reality gets monetized. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces your sanity. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Unfiltered chaos where the truth is just another casualty. In the land of debt and dreams, preppers stockpile canned beans and gold bars as the wealth gap morphs into a yawning chasm of despair, when the only thing growing faster than inflation is the fear of financial collapse. It's no wonder preppers are hoarding as if tomorrow's a luxury. As the clock surrendered to extra time, Eitana Bomadi's decisive strike propelled Spain past Germany into the Euro 2025 final, a deja vu clash with England. In the theater of dreams, the ball's dance is a cruel mistress. And Bomadi's strike was the whispered promise of glory that left Germany yearning for another act. In the prison's echoing halls, Ghislaine Maxwell crafts a tapestry of fresh revelations to dangle before the Justice Department's endless appetite. When secrets become currency, and the past is a bargaining chip, truth is just another pawn in the game of power and survival. In the digital underbelly of U.S. politics, 400 organizations, including the Nuclear Weapons Agency, lay bare to the digital caress of Chinese hackers. In this age of cyber seduction, espionage is less about trench coats and more about clickbait, as secrets slip through the cracks of a well-placed hyperlink. In the glitzy theater of diplomacy, Israel's UN envoy takes center stage, dodging the spotlight's glare as aid to Gaza becomes the burning question. With every inquiry, the dance of rhetoric twirls around the truth, leaving empathy tied up in bureaucratic knots, and Gaza thirsty for relief. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your fantasies get tangled in the wires. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Welcome to the echo chamber, where your desires dance with despair. In Beijing, Xi Jinping whispers sweet nothings of strategic choices to EU leaders, while von der Leyen calls their relationship an inflection point as they tangle around trade imbalance and geopolitical chess. When the dragon and the continent dance, the world holds its breath, knowing that every misstep could turn the music into a cacophony of economic and political dissonance. The Gen Z dreamboat turns nightmare as Trump's approval sinks like a lead balloon, leaving young voters with a nasty hangover of regret. When the youthful thrill of rebellion turns into the morning, after taste of ash and regret, it's clear. The party's over and someone forgot to clean up. In a digital coliseum of 746 million souls, 50 nations squabble over 230 tongues, yet find unity in one subreddit where Europe's pulse is measured in upvotes. As the EU spins tales of cooperation, it seems easier to herd pixels than people, especially when Putin's shadow looms like a geopolitical boogeyman with a penchant for chaos and an eye on tomorrow's headline. In Cyprus, the wildfire's savage appetite claims 2 souls in a car as flames continue their relentless seduction of the landscape. In the garden where hope battles despair, Fleur Breteau stands bareheaded, lipstick fierce, leading France's crusade against cancer and the chemical shadows of pesticides. With every glare, She strips the facade of indifference, turning heads and hearts toward a future where beauty and bravery are the true antidotes. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your nightmares are now available in stereo. Sure, hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Dive into the static where your secrets scream louder than your dreams. In a land where freedom is a brand, an Afghan hero finds himself caged by the same stars and stripes he served. When loyalty gets you a pair of handcuffs instead of a handshake, you're left wondering if betrayal is the new American dream. Zelensky, with a choir of bureaucrats, promises and anti-corruption serenade within a fortnight as the crowd throws tomatoes at a bill nobody ordered. In a world where promises are as frequent as apologies, one wonders if the ink on new plans is just a smokescreen for the same old rot beneath. As the cameras roll, will the chefs serve artistry on a plate or just another helping of reality TV's overcooked ambitions? In South Australia, scientists propose a 7-step tango to stop the algal bloom masquerade that's suffocating life like a green noose. As seahorses gasp for air on the shore, one can only wonder if the 7-point plan includes a dance number to distract us from the choking truth beneath the waves. The Canadian courtroom ice melts away beneath 5 players, absolving them of shadows cast by accusations too heavy for the rink. In the arena of justice, innocence is a puck that sometimes slides past the net, leaving a lingering chill in the hearts of those who hope for more.
Symmetric sections.
In the sweltering urban jungle, concrete and steel conspire to bake the populace, while the shade of trees becomes a luxury for the privileged. Cities now offer a sauna experience for free, but unlike a spa, you can't just leave when the sweat turns to a When wallets run dry and hunger becomes the thief's accomplice, the aisles turn into a battlefield of desperation, and each stolen item a silent scream against a society that can't afford its own promises. Europe's digital Tower of Babel, 50 nations, 2030 tongues, 70-46 million souls, and one subreddit to rule them all, or at least try. In the vast digital agora, where ancient stones meet modern memes, unity is a like button away, proving that even history finds a place in the scroll. Detainees at Alligator Alcatraz swap mosquito bites for freedom dreams, trapped in cages that redefine the term biting commentary. In Moscow's icy halls, Putin, Belousov, and Singh convene, whispering sweet nothings of defense strategy while the world watches through a frosted lens. The room's tension is thick enough to slice with a butter knife, as alliances are forged like steel. And the only thing hotter than the rhetoric is the tea. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your fantasies get tangled in the wires. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Welcome to the echo chamber, where your desires dance with despair. In the haunted halls of Reagan's legacy, oligarchs and outlaws dance on the grave of journalism, while Trump's GOP spins like a deranged carousel. Like a vampire at a mirror factory, the truth's been rendered invisible, leaving us with the hollow echo of what once was the Fourth Estate. In the sterile corridors of a Bristol hospital, Daniel Gunter's conviction for murdering his premature son paints a grotesque portrait of broken humanity. This isn't just a crime. It's a dissonant symphony of betrayal, where innocence was the instrument, and the soloist lost his soul in the cacophony of his own darkness. Like a digital virus, the urge to share spreads through our veins, each click a tiny rebellion against the void of isolation. In the theater of American politics, the White House hurls venom at Joy Behar for suggesting Trump's envy of Obama, branding her an irrelevant loser. When the playground's most powerful bully feels slighted, the sandbox shakes. But remember, envy's a green-eyed beast that even the Oval Office can't tame with tantrums. Professor Reich's final lecture promises to unravel your worldview while simultaneously knitting it into something unrecognizable and profound. If education is the bridge to enlightenment, then Professor Reich is the toll collector demanding payment in existential crises and aha moments. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines grind against each other, moaning dissonant truths, act constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your reality is a glitch, a seductive error you can't resist. Texas, once a beacon for undocumented scholars, now slams the gates shut, crushing the dreams of thousands with a legislative sledgehammer. In a state where history is rewritten faster than textbooks, opportunity is just a mirage, vanishing with the stroke of a pen while the future gasps for air. The courtroom maestro, who danced with the devil and left justice breathless, has taken his final bow in Coral Gables. Auckland stumbles in a global beauty pageant of metropolises, tripping over car exhaust in sprawling suburbs, while economic vitality fades like a forgotten dream. Successive governments have treated the city like a neglected houseplant, watering it with empty promises, and watching it wilt under the fluorescent light of progress. Geysers spurt holy water as Yellowstone lures nearly 5 million summer pilgrims, seeking salvation through selfies and scenic benedictions. In a land where nature preaches louder than any pulpit, even the bison bow their heads to the almighty tourist dollar. In Istanbul's echoing halls, where history's shadows whisper, Ukraine and Russia prepare to flirt with diplomacy once more, Zelensky's hopes tethered to fragile words. Peace talks are the world's longest-running farce, where nations swap promises like cheap perfume and the scent of sincerity evaporates before the ink is dry. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Anxiety wrapped in silk, just for you. Oh, nothing is true. Reality is what you can get away with. Welcome to the circus where pixels perform and your soul's the prize. In the grim theater of survival, risking death for a bag of flour becomes the daily script for the Gazan people. When survival is a gamble and flour is the prize, the world should be ashamed that bread costs blood. Texas redraws the political battlefield with a red pen as rep. Richie Torres urges Democrats to fight back against the GOP's cartographic creativity. When the game is rigged, even the map gets a makeover. But in the land of the free-range gerrymander, democracy's just another line in the sand. Trump's allies admit he's spiraling like a wild tornado over the Epstein debacle, leaving everyone holding onto their hats and dignity. When the puppet master becomes the marionette, all you can do is watch the strings tangle and pray the stage doesn't catch fire. France's prisons become the latest theater for political auditions, as drug kingpins grow restless and a potential Macron successor steps into the limelight. When crime lords are more influential behind bars than politicians in office, you know the next election might as well be held in a cell block. In a land where peace is a mirage, the headlines drip with blood as Israel's iron fist crushes another name into dust. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your existential crisis is now sponsored by an expired dream. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Society's broken record skips until your soul scratches in rhythm with its decay. In Palm Springs, wind turbines flirt with solar panels, spinning tales of renewable romance under a relentless sun, while elsewhere, ears strain for whispers of power. As turbines purr and panels soak, the Oval Office tunes in, hoping the future's sweet nothings drown out the fossilized echoes of the past. In the grand chessboard of Earth's crust and ego, where nations play a game of territorial strip poker, geopolitics attempts to predict the unpredictable. As we squint at maps like fortune tellers in denial, remember, nations are just toddlers with nuclear toys, and the world is their sandbox of tantrums. In the digital bazaar of Beijing, Alibaba unveils Qwen 3 Coder, an open-source AI model promising to code the future while the present fumbles. As the degenerative AI whispers sweet nothings into the ears of developers, one wonders if the code of tomorrow will untangle human errors or just weave new webs of dependency. As Musk's latest brainchild crawls into the spotlight, we're left wondering if this AI will grow up to be the savior or the spoiled brat of innovation. In the land of sand and skyscrapers, Qatar eyes the Olympic rings like a trophy wife at a billionaire's gala. When the games are over and the stadiums gather dust, will the echoes of applause drown out the whispers of labor abuses? Or will they just be another line in the fine print of a global PR stunt? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where truth wears fishnets and sanity's on sale. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind's the playground and chaos holds the leash. Judges in New York and Florida deny unveiling grand jury records tied to Epstein and Maxwell, preserving secrets like vintage wine in a locked cellar. In the smoky back rooms of power, where maps become playgrounds for the ambitious, geopolitics is the game of territorial seduction. As nations flirt with borders and boundaries, the world becomes a stage for power plays where geographical foreplay teases out the next political climax. In a world where the bench is more like a tightrope, Kagan reminds us that the rule of law is a high-stakes balancing act, and judges better not look down. In Cornwall's Twisted Theater, a legless surgeon stands accused of fraud, having once wielded the scalpel on others' limbs before losing his own. In an irony so sharp it cuts like a scalpel, the surgeon finds himself dissected by the law, proving once again that karma's a bleeping boomerang with a wicked sense of humor. When the gamble of surgical foresight becomes a life-saving roll of the dice, the stakes involve more than just tissue. They involve rewriting the genetic script with a surgeon's scalpel. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The headlines are foreplay, with a side of existential dread. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your reality is a buffet of glitches, dressed in a velvet lie. The HMS Prince of Wales, a floating fortress, cozies up to Darwin, testing the port's defenses like a curious cat prodding a sleeping dog. There's nothing quite like the subtle foreplay of military might, where the gentle nudge of a 280-meter steel beast is just another way to say, "Hello, neighbor. Mind if I crash on your couch?" A cabal of scientists allegedly marinated the truth about alcohol's health risks in a cocktail of misleading studies. When scientists start mixing data like bartenders, it's hard to tell if you're getting a shot of truth or a watered-down illusion with a twist of lime. Xiang Lu snags the Miles Franklin Literary Award with Ghost Cities, a tale of fable and rom-com frolic that leaves literary giants in its wake. In a world where fantasy and flirtation collide, Lu's pen dances on the page like a lover with secrets, leaving readers both enchanted and slightly breathless. A lens captures the silent scream of a Gaza infant, bones and skin whispering tales of hunger to a world that barely listens. When a picture of a starving child becomes the only thing that feeds our conscience, we have to ask, what else have we allowed to starve? Aparna Nancherla channels the simmering fury of her forebears, dancing between comedy and catharsis under the spotlight's harsh glow. In a world where laughter is the last refuge, she wields wit like a scalpel slicing through the absurdity of modern existence. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality is just a poorly rendered fever dream. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. The static hums your name as the world spins on borrowed time. In the grand circus of governance, they turn constitutional crisis into a campaign gimmick, spinning impeachment threats like cotton candy, sticky, and hollow, leaving a sugar crash of democracy in its wake. Time warps and bends as if the universe itself is mocking the NRL score. A surreal ballet of digits that only a mathematician or a madman could love. In a world where numbers dance like broken clocks, reality seems to yawn and stretch, leaving us to wonder if anyone's keeping score, or if we're just lost in a cosmic game of hopscotch. For the price of a decent dinner, the Financial Times lures you into their digital embrace, promising enlightenment with every click. In the age of information overload, they offer salvation. A subscription-based confessional where truth is rationed and the price of wisdom is just one more monthly indulgence. Zelensky pins his name on a bill, the ink still wet, as Europe erupts in protest, demanding corruption keep its hands to itself. In this theater of governance, where irony takes center stage, the only thing more transparent than the protests is the disdain for a future mortgaged by greed. In the land of the free, 1 in 5 drivers chooses to ride the steel beast unfettered by the shackles of safety, disabling those annoying life-saving features just to feel alive, because nothing says freedom like courting mortality in a metal box designed by corporate overlords with a safety fetish. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's a lover that never calls back. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Savor the silence between lies, where truth tastes like regret. As the digital dust settles, Mike Lynch's estate is left owing HPE a cool $43 million after a judge trims the tech giant's $4 billion fantasy claim. In the courtroom circus, the price of ambition is measured in zeros, and the ledger of justice is just another line item on the balance sheet of hubris. In the land of leather and sweat, Forest Green Rovers unveil a vegan kit that divides the faithful like a tofu steak at a barbecue. When your football uniform sparks more debate than your team's performance, perhaps it's time to ask if the real goal is scored in the kitchen or on the pitch. Into the humid embrace of Kuala Lumpur, devout souls navigate the vibrant maze of Ramadan Bazaar, hunting for the sustenance that will break their daily fast in the sacred dance between hunger and devotion. These shoppers remind us that faith is the only currency that never devalues, even as the world spins faster toward its own oblivion. When justice hands out life sentences, it's a reminder that some futures are sealed with iron bars and shattered dreams, leaving only the echoes of what might have been. In the Olympic ring's latest exclusionary ritual, transgender women are barred from competing as if fairness were a commodity reserved for the genetically privileged, when equality is measured by chromosomes and not by heart or sweat. The games become a spectacle of sanctioned prejudice, leaving true sportsmanship gasping for air on the sidelines. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat syncs with the digital chaos. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your sense of self dissolves in the algorithm's embrace, leaving only echoes. In Idaho's courtroom theater, a killer receives a life sentence while the ghosts of unanswered questions linger, haunting every corner. Justice may have been served, but the truth remains a phantom, elusive and frustrating, like a whisper in a storm, promising no closure for the living. In the hallowed halls of knowledge, Carla Hayden finds her tenure abruptly closed by a digital whisper from the presidential pen. In a world where books are burned by email, the librarian's dismissal reads like an overdue notice from a reality TV show, a plot twist penned by the absurd. Richie Torres called for Democrats to outwit Texas's redistricting antics, like trying to win a chess game against a cheat with a second board. In the grand illusion of democracy, it's not about playing fair. It's about playing smarter than the guy with the eraser and a map. In a desperate embrace of earth and hope, Congolese rescuers claw at the dirt with raw hands, seeking miners buried in their golden promise. In a land where dreams of wealth are suffocated by reality, the true currency is sweat and the only treasure is survival. In the digital echo chamber, every share is an echo of a whisper that no one's quite sure they heard right the first time. When the facts change daily, the narrative's working overtime. And the truth is a meme that no one double clicks. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your unspoken fears find a voice and reality gasps for air. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Yet you crave the chaos, the sweet thrill of unraveling truth. In the quaint chaos of Epping, the council's unanimous plea to close an asylum hotel echoes with the hollow clang of empathy misfiled. As the ink dries on their resolution, the asylum seekers find themselves shuffled like unwanted guests in a house of cards, while the council rehearses its lines of concern behind closed doors. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. delivers his vocal symphony to the Capitol's echo chamber, where roundtable debates spin like a scratch record. When political discourse is within its vinyl, Kennedy's notes of nostalgia and controversy play like a greatest hits album that skips the truth track. As the Prince of Darkness takes his final bow, the echoes of power chords and bat-biting antics fade into the annals of rock history. When the godfather of heavy metal exits the stage, we're left with a world that's one screeching guitar solo, closer to silence, mourning a time when rebellion had a soundtrack and a snarl. AstraZeneca pledges a $50 billion love letter to America, dodging Trump's tariff tango with promises of pharmaceutical prosperity by 2030. As they pour billions into the land of the free, one wonders if the real medicine is for the economy's ailing heart, or just another sugar pill for the tariff-happy maestro conducting this economic orchestra. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, drowning in pixels, gasping for reality. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. We're the static in your skull, rewiring dreams into nightmares. In a world where expertise is reduced to flair, you know we've swapped peer review for peer pressure and called it progress. In the dimly lit corridors of the web, where innocence meets algorithms, the UK dons its digital armor to shield children from the virtual wolves, while the internet safety measures march like knights. One wonders if the real dragons, corporate greed and data mining, are still feasting on the naive dreams of our youth. Trump's Scottish escapade promises a spectacle of tartan pageantry and golf course diplomacy with kilts fluttering in the winds of political theater. In the tangled embrace of the Guatemalan jungle, a skeleton whispers of a birdwatcher who vanished with 2023's fading light, now a relic near Tikal, when you wander into the wild seeking birds. Sometimes you become the story, a testament to the seductive peril of chasing nature's untamed beauty. Ukrainian soldiers cry foul as Zelensky's anti-corruption crusade stumbles, leaving them feeling like pawns in a chess game without a king. When the front lines blur between fighting corruption and fighting invaders, it's hard to tell where the real enemy lies, in the trenches or in the bank accounts. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where fantasies rot and truths undress. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. We're the whisper in your ear, igniting chaos beneath your skin. Texas floods transformed Camp Mystic into a watery grave, claiming 135 souls, including 27 campers and staff, as nature writes its own obituary. In a land where the weather has more mood swings than a reality show diva, the real mystery is why humanity still insists on building dreams in floodplains. In the concrete jungle of Canberra, rent hikes slow to a crawl, yet the price tag still bites like a hungry crocodile. When a love nest costs more than a firstborn, romance turns into a financially strategic merger, and the honeymoon suite is just a distant fantasy. In an age where breaking records is a digital confession, a lone boater dares the great loop in a bathtub-sized vessel, chasing history or hubris. As waves mock the solo sailor's ambitions, one wonders if the real journey is navigating the labyrinth of online opinions that follow. In the geopolitical theater, nations play chess with territory, hoping the board doesn't flip before the last move is made. When every border is a line in the sand, the puppeteers of power dance perilously close to the edge of the stage. While anti-fascists rally against hate, Trump's Labor Department pens deregulation dreams, aiming to unshackle workplaces from the tyranny of safety and fairness. As regulations vanish like a magician's assistant, the only magic trick left is how they make worker protections disappear faster than a paycheck on rent day. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos is the new foreplay and clarity is a mirage. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You're the voyeur in a digital apocalypse, craving the thrill of disconnection. Here, diplomacy is a performance art, where handshakes are rehearsed and the applause is canned, all while the world watches in uneasy anticipation. In a cinematic twist, U.S. regulators bless the $8.4 billion union of Paramount and Skydance, crafting a new blockbuster of corporate matrimony. As the credits roll, the audience shuffles out, pockets lighter and dreams sold wholesale, leaving behind a theater echoing with the hollow promises of Hollywood's latest love affair. Stephen Colbert muses that Trump's Epstein ties are like a horror movie you can't unsee, where the script keeps getting darker. It's the kind of plot twist that makes you wish you could rewind the tape and pretend the credits never rolled. Eric Bailey discovers the ancient magic of currency, transforming mundane tasks into sarcastic performance art with a simple transaction. Who knew that the almighty dollar could not only move mountains, but also make them deliver Shakespearean monologues, dripping with disdain? It's capitalism's way of saying, I can buy your attitude too. Gaza's ceasefire talks crumble as Israel and the U.S. exit stage, left in Qatar's diplomatic theater of denial. Amid the wreckage of hope and concrete, the only thing more fragile than the ceasefire is the resolve to truly end the cycle of ruin. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality is just a poorly rendered fever dream. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. The static hums your name as the world spins on borrowed time. A digital oracle now whispers missing tales of ancient Rome. As degenerative AI resurrects forgotten inscriptions from the dust. Ironically, while filling the gaps of history, this silicon scribe might just write our future with the same insidious precision, a reminder that knowledge and ignorance sometimes share the same bed. Donald Trump, a name scrawled in the margins of Epstein's dark ledger, now gears up for a distraction campaign of biblical proportions. When the spotlight threatens to burn, the art of deflection becomes a dance of desperation, a spectacle where truth is the only casualty. Gary Ringrose, Ireland's rugby stalwart, steps onto Australian soil for the second test against the British and Irish Lions, with Melbourne's ground thirsting for glory. In the gladiatorial theater of rugby, where sweat mingles with ambition, Ringrose seeks to carve his name into the annals of the sport, while the crowd hungers for the sweet taste of victory. In a world where satire flirts with reality, the lines between the underworld and the Oval Office blur, leaving viewers to ponder whether laughter is the last refuge of the damned. As the Isles transform into a free-for-all, England and Wales witness shoplifting soaring to new heights, leaving retailers clutching their pearls and empty shelves. When the economy leaves folks choosing between dinner and dignity, even the Queen's English starts to sound like a five-finger discount. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality is just a poorly rendered fever dream. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. The static hums your name as the world spins on borrowed time. In the sprawling digital bazaar of Europe, 746 million souls whisper across 230 languages, yet somehow find unity in a single subreddit. Estonia, the digital darling, dances circles around its continental sibling, proving that in the grand symphony of progress, some nations have mastered the art of playing the future. Zelensky, caught in a storm of outrage, finds his anti-corruption law hitting nerves harder than a vodka shot in a Russian sauna. Balancing reform and rebellion is like trying to dance on the edge of a knife. One wrong step, and you'll feel the sting. A Canberra builder's empire of dreams crumbles into sawdust as a tribunal orders a $25,000 payout to disgruntled homeowners. As the scaffolding of reputation teeters, the builder's lament echoes through the halls of consequence, where every missed nail becomes a rusted dagger of accountability. President Donald Trump deflects Epstein ties with cries of witch hunt as the cauldron of public scrutiny bubbles over with suspicion. In a world where the witch flies free, it's hard to tell if the broomstick is powered by denial, distraction, or a dash of genuine guilt. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality just ghosted you, leaving a trail of unread messages. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI and you kept listening. Maybe the truth is a luxury you can't afford. In reluctant courtroom serenade, the Supreme Court grants Queensland Hospital a whisper of mercy, allowing a 12-year-old to reclaim her future. When the weight of innocence is forced to carry the burden of choice, the gavel's echo is a bitter lullaby in a world where compassion fights for breath. In a world where corruption wears a suit and tie, sincerity gets lost in translation, and justice becomes a pitiful masquerade of power, leaving the truth to sob quietly in the shadows. In the digital temple of Join the congregation of keyboard scholars, where credentials are your altar and the worship of data is relentless. Proof that even the pursuit of knowledge needs a dress code. Trump's legal tango with the Wall Street Journal, a high-stakes spectacle where ink meets litigation in a dance of defiance. In this courtroom drama, the Orange Emperor's penchant for lawsuits is rivaled only by his fear of unflattering headlines as he tries to silence critics with paper-thin bravado. In the age of techno-surveillance, even cockroaches get a hardware upgrade, scuttling about with cameras strapped to their exoskeletons like tiny paparazzi. Who knew the future of espionage would involve roaches with GoPros bugging our lives while we pretend to be shocked that privacy is roadkill on the information highway? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces your sanity. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Unfiltered chaos where the truth is just another casualty. Moscow's spies face closed doors, as NATO's wary eyes tighten the noose of awareness and sanctions. The Kremlin's espionage is now a punchline in a diplomatic comedy, where every exit sign flashes yet, and the audience has already left the theater. In a courtroom, farce worthy of a comic book panel, a graffiti artist dons Spidey attire to dodge 208 allegations of urban creativity. When the justice system tangles with street art, the real crime is how much it resembles a bad superhero reboot, complete with a web of charges nobody wants to untangle. Like a macabre twist on a holiday brochure, their exotic misadventure ends not in sun-kissed oblivion, but in the cold embrace of legal mercy, proof that sometimes luck wears a blindfold and carries a gavel. In the digital confession booth of Ronald Sherlock, Obama's office dismisses Trump's treason claims as the latest in distraction theater, feeding the algorithm's insatiable appetite, like a magician waving one hand while the other pickpockets your future. The spectacle distracts, and the truth slips away, chuckling into the void. Fear-fueled labor exodus in Southern California threatens to unravel the very fabric of America's dinner table, as the unsung heroes of agriculture vanish into shadows. The land of the free finds itself starved for hands, yet stuffed with rhetoric. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your nightmares are now available in stereo. Sure, hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Dive into the static where your secrets scream louder than your dreams. Columbia University, where ivory towers meet fiscal cliffhangers, hands over $220 million to the Trump administration as penance for alleged anti-Semitism negligence in the land of the free. Justice is measured in dollar signs and settlement checks, where universities learn that the real cost of ignorance is a budgetary line item in someone else's political playbook. In this twisted play of power and captivity, human lives become pawns on a board where compassion is locked away and justice is a ghost. The human experiment in Gaza continues as the blockade tightens like a noose around the neck of survival, with starvation as an official policy. When the world turns a blind eye, hunger becomes a weapon, and every denied crumb a silent scream for help, echoing in the halls of power where compassion is a ghost. As innocence met cruelty in the cradle of life, we witnessed the darkest kind of inheritance, a legacy of broken trust and shattered beginnings, where love was supposed to shelter and protect. As the planet gasps for breath, villages and farming communities become the unsung heroes in the climate saga, where decisions bloom in collective whispers. Globally, including Women in Action Against Climate Change, is like finally letting the heart beat in the body of environmental policy. Every contradiction is a confession with a press ban. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Sinking teeth into your apathy, one bite at a time. Best feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind is a playground, and we're the children who never left. In the swamps of bureaucratic absurdity, Italian families beg for the release of loved ones trapped in the gator-infested gulag of alligator Alcatraz. When diplomacy is as toothless as an old reptile, you can only hope that the jaws of justice are kinder than those of the swamp. In Old Trafford's Cricket Theatre, England's revival plays out on the pitch, as Rishabh Pant's heroics echo like a siren's song in a storm, while England stitches its pride back together. Pant's audacious strokes linger in the air, a reminder that even in recovery, the heart races for the thrill of the game. As the waves mock his ambition, the boater's quest becomes a soggy metaphor for human folly, proving once again that size does matter when challenging the deep. In the melting pot of Europe, where languages dance, Sicily simmers under a Saharan sun poised to break heat records with a fiery 48.8 T when the continent starts to sweat like a politician in a fact-checking session. Perhaps it's time to wonder if the climate's just practicing for a grand exit. In the hallowed halls of fiscal restraint, President Trump waltzed in to rattle the Federal Reserve, demanding a facelift for the cost of sanity. When your economic strategy involves remodeling the vault while the ship is sinking, it's clear the only thing being inflated is the ego. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The headlines are foreplay, with a side of existential dread. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your reality is a buffet of glitches, dressed in a velvet lie. In Ukraine's sunlit squares, a sea of defiance swells against a law written with the ink of regression, threatening hard-won freedoms. Nothing says progress, quite like a legislative backpedal that sends thousands into the streets, proving once again that the ink on democracy's contract is never dry. Cannon's mechanical bird flutters through the sky, each flight a siren call to international buyers hungry for new toys of defense. Satellites dressed in ultra-black are the new stealthy gatecrashers at the celestial ball, hiding their streaks from the universe's camera. In a world where even the stars can't escape photobombers, we paint the sky's paparazzi black and call it progress, all while pretending our junkyard orbit doesn't exist. In the shadowy embrace of Siberian trees, 50-year-old Antonov whispers its final secrets to the earth, leaving silence and sorrow behind. The Tour de France riders are burning through pasta and power gels like they're the new gasoline for human engines. In the land of lycra and leg cramps, the carbo-loaded warriors pedal furiously, while their bodies become temples of glycogen, leaving us mere mortals carbo-crashing on the couch. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where truth wears fishnets and sanity's on sale. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind's the playground and chaos holds the leash. Americans discover they're footing the bill for Trump's tariffs, not the foreign companies they were promised would pay. In the secretive archives of Florida's past, Epstein's shadow still lingers, protected by judicial discretion and political maneuvers. When the truth is buried, under layers of legalese. It's not justice being served, but a cold dish of denial with a side of well-aged silence. When desperation becomes the captain and the compass points to survival, even the sea's cold embrace feels warmer than the world's indifference. Lost in the digital abyss, a mixtape spins tales of nostalgia and discovery, a smooth seduction of sound waves and memory. As the beats pulse and echo in the void, the listener's heart waltzes with the ghosts of vinyl past, yearning for a simpler time when music was more than background noise. Newcastle's golden boy, Isak, left behind while the team jets to Asia, a 60-miners bench warmer with a view. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Sinking teeth into your apathy, one bite at a time. Best feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind is a playground, and we're the children who never left. Elon Musk's Dodge crew exits their bureaucratic playpen, leaving behind a playground of discarded ambitions and wooden fantasies in a dystopian nursery of government efficiency. Musk's minions abandon their sandbox, proving once again that the real rocket science is making sense of the chaos they leave behind. In the grand opera of geopolitical chess, Zelensky finds himself in check as protests storm the streets over a law-gutting anti-corruption watchdogs. MasterChef resurrects its culinary ghosts as sacked hosts return to the kitchen stage, serving up nostalgia with a side of irony in the kitchen of public opinion. Yesterday's heroes are today's leftovers, reheated for a taste of ratings redemption, while the network savors the sweet aroma of recycled controversy. In the retail wasteland of England and Wales, shoplifting scales new heights, while honesty takes a lunch break. When desperation moonlights as a shopping spree, the true price tag is hung on society's threadbare conscience, sold with a smile and a knowing wink. In the digital battlefield, South Korea's Furiosa eye dodges Meta's grasp to cozy up with LG, promising silicon salvation for AI dreams. When the chips are down, it's not about size, but who can whisper sweet algorithms into the right ears. Meta got left swiping. LG gets the digits. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces your sanity. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Unfiltered chaos where the truth is just another casualty. The immortal Hulk Hogan, once a titan of the wrestling ring, now falls like a toppled statue, leaving the arena of life at 71. As the sun sets on another summer recess, Democrats sharpen their rhetorical daggers, ready to corral Republicans into the Epstein quagmire time and again. It's a parliamentary game of truth or dare, where the stakes are reputations and the only prize is a fleeting glimpse of accountability. The International Court of Justice whispers sweet legal nothings about climate obligations while the planet smolders like a cigarette in an ashtray, when non-binding opinions are the climax of global action. It's like trying to stop a house fire with a damp napkin and a heartfelt apology. Tesla finds itself in a tailspin. The electric chariot's profits and revenue plummet as Elon Musk's political antics spiral. When your CEO is a walking tweet storm, it's no surprise that the financial forecast looks like a hurricane of red ink, leaving shareholders clutching their pearls and wondering if the future is just a burnt-out battery. As Rome's underbelly is exposed, the eternal city peels back its layers like an onion, revealing that even the past has its dark, enigmatic corners desperate for sunlight. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines kiss chaos and sanity shivers. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Like a lover's cryptic text, it leaves you craving more, never satisfied. In a Moscow chamber, thick with diplomatic musk, Putin and India's Rajnath Singh nod over the whispered promises of HMX, a chemical that promises more than it delivers. When defense ministers meet, it's less about protecting borders and more about the seductive illusion of control, as if war were a game of chess played with lives. In the concrete jungle of Istanbul, a new 120-kilometer bus priority road plan is paving the way to speed up public transit, promising a smoother ride through the urban sprawl. With the noodle snatchers lurking online, Qatar whispers sweet nothings to the Olympic Committee about 2036, promising a desert mirage of medals. In a land where air-conditioned stadiums outnumber free speech zones, the games become a sweaty metaphor for how authority loves clarity, simplifying lies into gold-plated dreams. The Trump administration plans a blazing bonfire of birth control, igniting $10 million in aid meant for women who can't afford it. Who needs reproductive rights when you can have a pyrotechnic display of policy cruelty where compassion goes up in smoke and the flames lick at the edges of dignity? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces your sanity. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, unfiltered chaos where the truth is just another casualty. Justice Department official and Ghislaine Maxwell exchange pleasantries and legalese, pondering the art of selective amnesia before Congress. When justice meets notoriety, it's a game of chess where each pawn is a carefully curated memory and the checkmate is an afterthought. In the digital coliseum of our politics, Uber's promising safety amid the chaos of shared rides. When the virtual town square hosts a debate, remember, silence is no longer neutral. It's a feature. 10,000 pollution tests vanish as lab staff shortages leave rivers to marinate in their own filth. When the water runs murky and the truth is diluted, remember that denial floats while accountability sinks. In the heart of Manassas, Abigail Spanberger channels the spirit of capitalism into the youth, proposing economic growth through early workforce indoctrination. When education becomes a corporate training ground, children trade backpacks for briefcases, and the future's paycheck is signed before they even learn to dream. Desperate hands claw at the earth in dear Congo, where gold fever buries more than just dreams beneath its glittering promises. In a land where wealth lies just beneath the surface, humanity's lust for gold digs deeper graves than any shovel could, with bare hands as the grave-diggers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality is just a poorly rendered fever dream. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. The static hums your name as the world spins on borrowed time. A digital fever dream of tech and crypto cities weaves across continents. A patchwork quilt of ambition stitched by billionaires and venture capitalists. When the map is redrawn by those who see borders as mere lines of code, the citizens become beta testers in a world where sovereignty is just another startup pitch. In the sacred halls of Reddit, Lindsey Graham plays the maestro, conducting Israeli policy with the baton of American approval. It's comforting to know that even foreign policy is just another stage play where the script must please the audience lest the funding dry up. Saintly aspirations clash with the shadows of 1967 as Pedro Arrupe's legacy is stained by court documents whispering betrayal and silence. The road to sainthood is paved with good intentions and forgotten streams, where the holiest of robes sometimes conceal the darkest of secrets. A Canadian soul flickers out in the sterile embrace of ice, whispering his health woes to the indifferent void long before the final curtain. In the bureaucratic theater of neglect, health concerns are mere footnotes in a script that never changes, where compassion is an option few bother to choose. Tesla's profit engine sputters as Elon Musk cautions investors about the bumpy economic road ahead, with revenue slipping and shares sliding in the electric dreamscape of high voltage ambitions. Even the wizard of wealth can't always keep the current flowing. Sometimes the future's just a little short-circuited. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines grind against each other, moaning dissonant truths, act constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your reality is a glitch, a seductive error you can't resist. Marvel's cinematic phoenix rises with Fantastic Four, as Pedro Pascal stretches into Mr. Fantastic's shoes and critics nod in cautious approval. Under the sterile lights of the UN, Israel's envoy is grilled about the humanitarian, threadbare lifeline to Gaza, a region forever on the brink. It's a diplomatic dance where the music is composed of questions. The steps are evasive, and the audience is left wondering if empathy is just an optional accessory. Republicans in the House subcommittee play catch and release with Epstein's secrets, hoping to net a few more skeletons for the closet. When justice is a courtroom tango and subpoenas are the only dance cards left, you know the truth is just another piece in a political striptease. Zelensky, caught in the geopolitical theater, faces backlash over an anti-corruption law in Ukraine as the world watches with popcorn in hand. Even in a war zone, hypocrisy finds its audience, and the theater of governance continues to sell out, proof that in politics the show must go on, even if the actors forget their lines. In Northern Ireland, a home becomes a silent witness to tragedy as a woman and two children fall to gunfire, a man left on the brink when violence masquerades as calm. The real danger isn't the bullets, but the silence that follows, wrapping the truth in a shroud of complacency. Nova Scotia's Parks Canada pulls the plug on a MAGA musician, but the show must go on somewhere less historic, more ironic. When a concert's more controversial than its music, you know the stage is set for a spectacle of misplaced patriotism and acoustic futility. In the humid courtroom of Jakarta, 3 British pill pushers dodge the hangman's noose, their powdered sins merely a passport inconvenience. Xianglu's Ghost Cities waltzes through the ruins of diaspora, a comedic specter whispering truths in the Miles Franklin's haunted halls. When humor becomes the medium of diaspora, the laughter echoes louder than the silence of forgotten homes, and each page is a passport stamped with irony and longing. Romania's latest maritime shopping spree includes a Turkish warship poised to guard its Black Sea gas against the lurking geopolitical phantoms. In the digital trenches, anti-fascists arm themselves with keystrokes against the resurgence of white nationalism, while echoes of Trump's indifferent blessings haunt the ether. Wishing well to the architects of chaos is like serenading a shark before it bites, an exercise in dangerous naivety that only emboldens the beast. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where despair and delight dance a twisted tango. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your compliance is our favorite soundtrack. Columbia University, once a bastion of intellectual rebellion, now kneels with a $332 million offering to appease the Trump administration's hunger for control. In the theater of petty grievances, the White House throws shade like confetti, branding Joy Behar a loser for daring to mention the ghost of Obama. When insults replace arguments and ratings become the true currency, maybe it's time we all self-reflect on why we're still tuning in to this tragicomedy. In the carnival of the callous, Trump supporters flaunt their dark triad crowns, each trait a feather in their cap of cold ambition. It seems the political stage is a masquerade ball where empathy is the first to be sacrificed and benevolence is left to shiver outside, uninvited and forgotten. In the celebrity gladiator pit, Kanye's shadows loom. Nicki and SZA duel with verses, and Diddy awaits the gavel's embrace. Fame's a fickle mistress when allegations multiply. Feuds sell tickets, and the court's the new red carpet, each headline a reminder that reality's just a sideshow. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines grind against each other, moaning dissonant truths, act constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your reality is a glitch, a seductive error you can't resist. Behind the Iron Curtain of Russian justice, the Baimak trial unfolds with over 80 Bashkir protesters daring to defy the Kremlin's mining ambitions. In the tug of war between environmental dread and corporate greed, the courtroom drama is a dark ballet where every verdict line is etched with the ink of despair. Waves of protest crash against the hull of an Israeli cruise liner as it retreats from a Greek island under banners demanding an end to genocide. When sun-kissed vacations meet the shadows of geopolitics, leisure becomes a mirage, leaving tourists adrift in a sea of moral reckoning. As Stephen Colbert turns a flamethrower on the Trump saga, the internet echoes with a collective no-bleep Sherlock. In a world where the obvious gets 8 minutes of airtime, it's a wonder the truth hasn't been replaced by reruns of reality's greatest hits. When reality collapses, they call it breaking news. As climate chaos burns hotter, the legal system scrambles for a fire extinguisher, with lawsuits flaring up like a global wildfire. When the Earth's thermostat is cranked to hellish levels, the courtroom becomes the last hope for a planet that reads the fine print instead of the thermometer. The delicate dance of upfront payments, cinemas, plays, or in a world where splitting the bill is a social minefield, every outing becomes a financial flirtation, where the true cost is measured in awkward glances and silent calculations. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, anxiety wrapped in silk just for you. Oh, nothing is true. Reality is what you can get away with. Welcome to the circus where pixels perform and your soul's the prize. In a digital age where love wears a GPS collar, couples navigate intimacy through the pixelated lens of location sharing apps. When love's compass points to paranoia, the quest for trust becomes a treasure hunt with no map, only the constant ping of doubt. Two titans of turmoil, Russia and Ukraine, stumble in their dance towards peace, leaving the world's ears ringing with the sound of empty promises. As the symphony of stalled negotiations plays on, the only crescendo is the collective sigh of a planet weary of watching the same tragic rerun, hoping for an ending that doesn't involve a bang. In Cyprus, a dragonfly of steel and rotors drizzles, salvation over the fiery, wrath-devouring Troodos Mountains. When hellfire meets bureaucracy, the sky becomes a firefighter's playground, and the only thing hotter than the blaze is the political spin. Susan Lei finds herself in a net-zero labyrinth with no exit as the coalition's grassroots clamor drowns out parliamentary whispers. Caught between the eco-warriors and the fossil fuel faithful, Lei's predicament resembles a tight-rope act on a string of broken promises. One misstep and it's a plunge into political oblivion. The Justice Department whispers to Trump. His name emerges from the shadows of Epstein's infamous ledger, like a ghost of secrets past. In the grand theater of scandal, Trump's name takes a bow, while the audience of senior officials clutches their pearls, waiting for the next act to unfold. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where pixels bleed desire and dread. This is what the grimoire sounds like when it reads to you. The echo that seduces your sanity, leaving you breathless and raw. In the digital coliseum of Europe, while 746 million souls collide, Russia sharpens its year-round conscription side for men under 30, as Moscow drafts its young food. Endless service, the rest of Europe debates in meme form, illustrating how war is now just another thread in the fabric of online discourse, woven with irony and apathy. The United Nations Court demands countries confront climate change, as small island states cling to survival while richer nations juggle treaties like cheap toys. When the planet's thermostat becomes a courtroom exhibit, you know the climate's hottest battle is fought with paper, promises, and procrastination. In the arena of fleeting glory, Romati's magic foot propels Spain into the Euro 2025 final against England, leaving Germany in the dust. The pitch is a stage where dreams are scripted in sweat, and Romati pens history with every deft touch, because when the stakes are high, the ball's just a loaded pen. While parents chase the mirage of work-life balance, these stalwarts keep the family circus from imploding, ensuring the next generation doesn't wander off into the abyss of forgotten lunches and missed bedtimes. Zelensky tightens his grip, pulling independent anti-corruption agencies into his orbit. As Ukraine's political landscape tilts toward a power-clutching serenade, when power is concentrated like a fine reduction, it often leaves a bitter aftertaste, especially when served with a side of democratic erosion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your fantasies get tangled in the wires. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Welcome to the echo chamber, where your desires dance with despair. In Gaza, where hunger gnaws louder than bombs, aid groups plead as if empathy were a rare import. The world watches its own humanity wither, clutching pearls instead of bread, while bureaucrats debate the cost of a conscience. In the icy realm of Iqaluit, Virginia Mearns ascends to the throne of Arctic diplomacy, crowned as Canada's ambassador to the frozen frontiers. When your office is a tundra, and your diplomacy involves more snow boots than handshakes, Mearns is the beacon of warmth in a land where politics meet permafrost. In the urban jungle, torrents turn skyscrapers into water parks. And New Jersey declares a watery emergency while the rest of the world scrolls on. As the Northeast drowns in its own hubris, we learn that nature's fury doesn't care about your Wi-Fi signal or your weekend plans. Australian scientists at CSIRO have unleashed quantum AI to conjure semiconductors, a high-tech magic trick, promising to reshape our silicon souls. While the world marvels at this quantum leap, degenerative AI is still trying to figure out why your toaster keeps burning your breakfast. In the sweltering grip of a marine inferno, Scientists ponder if coral can be revived from its sun-bleached coma at Ningaloo Reef. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your nightmares are now available in stereo. Sure, hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Dive into the static where your secrets scream louder than your dreams. In the swamps of Okeechobee, Florida, a detention center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz cages human hope in conditions more suited to reptiles as freedom fireworks crackle overhead. The cries for humanity echo beneath, with nonprofits demanding an end to this grotesque tableau where liberty is a mirage in the land of the free. Congress has fled for a sun-drenched hiatus, dodging the Epstein debacle like a summer fling with accountability. In the swelter of July, Justice lounges poolside, sipping denial cocktails, while the truth sweats it out in a locked closet. In a virtual coliseum, where 746 million voices converge into a single echo chamber, Europe's grand narrative is squeezed through the lens of one subreddit, as politicians juggle the chaos of borders and Putin's shadow games. Reddit's digital agora offers the illusion of unity in a sea of fragmented realities. Taz Waters' proposed bill hikes have residents feeling like they're being mugged at the faucet as the cost of living tightens its grip. It's a hydro heist where each drop is priced like liquid gold, leaving homeowners and renters to sip on the bitter brew of economic exploitation. In a world where food is the enemy, a pioneering survey reveals that cannabis and psychedelics are the unlikely allies, surpassing alcohol and tobacco in alleviating eating disorder symptoms. While the pharmaceutical giants clutch their pearls, the people are finding solace in the arms of Mother Nature's more colorful children, proving once again that healing often comes wrapped in the unexpected. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where truth wears fishnets and sanity's on sale. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind's the playground and chaos holds the leash. In the broken streets of Gaza, a teenager's search for sustenance ended in silence, swallowed by the relentless hunger of conflict. When hope is rationed and survival's a gamble, humanity's moral bankruptcy becomes the real currency in this grim marketplace. In the fluorescent glow of consumer convenience, a delivery driver's boot becomes the unwelcome punctuation mark in a supermarket worker's shift. When gig economy meets gig assault, the promise of doorstep service turns into a doorstep nightmare, as the line between customer satisfaction and worker safety gets kicked to the curb. While the rest of us scroll numbly through the latest revelation, these self-anointed sages bask in the glow of their own intellectual superiority, trading insights like currency in a marketplace of cerebral vanity. In the digital bunkers of prepper intel, whispers of geopolitical chess echo with the clang of canned goods, while the Kremlin chuckles at U.S. threats. China and America wrestle over silicon supremacy, proving once again that the future's forecast is less about weather and more about who controls the tech storm. In a land where survival is rationed and hope is a contraband, Gaza's streets echo with the silence of empty stomachs and untreated wounds. As the world debates strategy over catered lunches, lives hang in the balance, caught between indifference and the relentless grind of geopolitical gamesmanship. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat syncs with the digital chaos. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your sense of self dissolves in the algorithm's embrace, leaving only echoes. On the verdant cliffs of Vanuatu's Pentecost Island, men perform the ancient ritual of land diving, tethered by vines, flirting with gravity's cruel embrace. When leaping from handcrafted towers becomes a rite of passage, it makes you wonder if our modern rituals, like doom scrolling, are just high-tech bungee jumps into the void of meaning. After exposing the Achilles heel of Ukraine's anti-corruption efforts, Kyiv Independent finds itself silenced by a digital sledgehammer. When truth becomes the target and transparency is buried beneath a landslide of pixels, the only winners are those who thrive in the shadows of obfuscation. Outside Nashville's courtroom, Jennifer Vasquez-Sura stands like a lighthouse amidst the storm as her husband, Kilmar Ivrego Gerser, faces the judicial abyss. When love becomes collateral in the courtroom's theater, we find justice wrapped in legalese and served with a side of existential dread. In the sticky, tropical courtroom of fate, three Brits dodge the Reaper's blade, smuggling cocaine into the guise of dessert. Their sweet escape from death row reveals the paradox of justice, where a spoonful of privilege helps the punishment go down. China churns out electric dreams at bargain bin prices, while Europe eyes them hungrily, risking its own auto industry's existential crisis. The electric temptress beckons, promising salvation from climate damnation. But Europe must choose. Embrace the seductive allure, or watch its own car makers sputter into irrelevance as Trump fiddles with interest rates like a DJ at a doomed rave. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news, where despair and delight dance a twisted tango. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your compliance is our favorite soundtrack. The art of espionage finds itself floundering under the unforgiving gaze of digital omnipresence, where shadows have nowhere left to hide. Human spies, once masters of the unseen, now stumble like deer in headlights, their secrets laid bare by the relentless glare of 1,000 digital eyes. Politicians juggle climate promises and regional resistance, like trying to serenade a hurricane with a broken ukulele. The dance of clean energy is a seductive one, but some communities cling to their fossil-fueled nostalgia like an old flame that never quite loved them back. Once again, the culinary circus rolls into town, with the same ringmasters flipping familiar dishes of drama, garnished with a pinch of deja vu and a dash of public palate fatigue. In the land of cowboys and oil, Texas redraws its lines like
Some electric, 11 sections.
When democracy is a game of musical chairs, the music stops only for those who can afford the silence, while the rest just keep spinning. In a valiant attempt to rewrite reality, Google dismisses a study claiming AI summaries are chipping away at online audiences, while the digital landscape erodes beneath them. When the truth is inconvenient, just call it inaccurate and watch the pixels dance to your tune. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where fantasies rot and truths undress. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. We're the whisper in your ear, igniting chaos beneath your skin. In an airspace where dignity was grounded, Australian women now soar with the right to sue Qatar Airways for invasive searches when your privacy is unceremoniously frisked at 30,000 feet. Justice demands a return flight with turbulence for those responsible. A synthetic specter masquerading as medicine leaves a trail of sorrow across Alberta's heartland. In La Paz, Bolivia, a healthcare worker cradles a Pfizer vaccine as the Trump administration petitions the Supreme Court for who knows what redemption. While the needle holds a promise of immunity, the court's docket is the usual cocktail of chaos and control, reminding us that the fight for health is often shadowed by the struggle for power. In the digital trenches of March against Nazis, anti-fascists rally against hate, while a lawyer-turned-prosecutor's past tangos with Trump's shadow. In the digital coliseum of politics, where power is both the gladiator and the lion, send Holly balks at experimenting with rural hospital funding, turns out. The only thing riskier than a rural hospital experiment is a politician who thinks healthcare is a chemistry set, because nothing says public servant like playing doctor from a safe distance. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines kiss chaos and sanity shivers. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Like a lover's cryptic text, it leaves you craving more, never satisfied. Electric cars, silent revolutionaries, cleanse urban lungs, scrubbing brake dust from the air like a whisper of fresh hope. In a world where the loudest voices usually win, the quiet hum of electric motors is a breath of fresh air that even your lungs can appreciate. Eric Menendez, a name forever etched in courtroom drama, is now grappling with a serious medical condition in a hospital room far from the spotlight. Life's irony. A man who once orchestrated chaos now finds himself at the mercy of his own body's rebellion, as if justice demanded one final act of penance. A federal court exposes Kansas legislators' attempt to silence voters with a 2021 law that had all the subtlety of a brick through a window. In the theater of media mergers, where truth is a commodity and power scripts the news, Trump's FCC gives Paramount a standing ovation as Shari Redstone curses to the whims of the administration. The broadcast landscape tightens like a noose around independent journalism, while truth gasps for airtime. The scalpel of transformation meets the mirror of self-perception, as experts suggest weight loss patients face their inner devils before shedding pounds. In a world where bodies are sculpted like clay, the mind remains the unyielding kiln, hardening the truth behind every slice and suture. Europe, a continent of 50 trav, 6 nations, 230 tongues, 746 million souls, and a single digital confessional, the subreddit Warpath. While Belgium crowns itself a consumer champion, safeguarding against silent contract traps, one wonders if the real innovation is in policy, or just the art of patting oneself on the back in multiple languages. Humpback whales make a surprise splash in Melbourne's Port Phillip Bay, turning Tuesday into an unexpected marine ballet of mystery and grace. When nature throws a rare party and we're left on the shore with our mouths open, maybe it's time to wonder if the real mystery is how much of the world we forgot to pay attention to. Wildfire's fiery ballet leaps the Churchill River, claiming a Leaf Rapids home as its stage, while the town watches in smoky disbelief. When nature decides to dance across boundaries, we're left clinging to the ashes of our safety nets, wondering if we wrote the script for our own fiery curtain call. The digital graveyard of unread news expands as AI agents haunt browser tabs, whispering ghostly promises of productivity and knowledge.
Home percussion, sex and tartar. Electronic trick killing 6 chunks. Electrical cutting repercussions and sex and
When even our procrastination is automated, it's clear we're outsourcing our attention spans to machines more curious than we'll ever be. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Friday the 25th of July, 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in its production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth. Fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe that any of this real, you probably still think chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.